Hi guys and welcome to ThrustZone.com. This is Mohit Soni. Right in front of you is the BS6 Royal Enfield Himalayan. Yes, we are a little late to test drive this particular vehicle because of obvious reasons and because it was launched in 2020 and then everything has been a mess ever since. But this motorcycle continues to be sane and this motorcycle continues to be what it is very largely. Apart from the subtle changes that have been seen in the BS6 variant, I'm going to be brief with the changes. Brief with the things that are similar and go in detail with what has changed. So in terms of design, nothing really has changed. It's a very rugged industrial looking motorcycle which has its own Royal Enfield character to a very large extent. You can immediately, almost immediately realize that this is a Royal Enfield. Of course, it's a very old motorcycle, but back then when also it came, it did look like a Royal Enfield, but it was something new, something exciting, so that remains. What you get is a very large 21-inch wheel at the front and get a 17 at the back. You've got a very typical rear fender here which we see on most motorcycles of this category, and there's the side panel, really well done with the Himalayan badging on it. Split seat, split grab rail. You have a luggage mount here. There's a very large fuel tank, similar switch gear as before, but of course, since this is not a modern Royal Enfield, so it continues with these square switches. With the new ones, get the round one, the grounded design of the switch gear, and the addition is of course this new hazard light on this. And as you can see, the meters continue to be the same. It's a very busy unit here. So that's the fuel gauge, compass, tachometer, and the speedometer with miles and kilometers per hour. Digitally, as you can see, it can tell you the temperature, time, gear shift indicator, 2 trip meters, and that is the trip F for the fuel. Science stand indicator is here, and this is the new addition, the tripper. We've told you multiple times about it in the Meteor and in the Classic 350, which makes it way to the Himalayan, and it works flawlessly, no questions asked. Navigation is spot on, but absolutely in very rare conditions it can lose signal, and I think that's pretty normal given the fact how navigation works in the first place. So that's the twin mudguard setup that you see at the front. We got a LED DL, small light here inside, while the rest is halogen, and the high beam and low beam are spot on. You get this round mirrors, and sadly if you keep on adjusting it like this with your fingers, you might from this side, you can clip your fingers inside this area over here. So when you're adjusting it like this, I don't know why, but that's it. Here for some reason, when you are adjusting the mirrors, then you can clip your fingers like this, and I think if you're wearing gloves it's fine, but even the glove can get stuck. We tried it both with the hand and without, and with the glove it's still something that Royal Enfield needs to fix, and I think they'll have to go with the entire change in that aspect. Large fuel tank, another pet peeve that we have with the fuel tank, of course, is that when our washing guy washes the bike every day, as you can see, the water still collects here. So that is something also Royal Enfield needs to look into. And that's the motorcycle. That's the big change. That's the BS6 catalyzer, seen here, not seen earlier. It's now seen in the BS6 version. The exhaust size and mounting remains the same. You've got, of course, disc brakes at both ends, and that is what the motorcycle is. The ergonomics, let's discuss that. The seat here is 800 mm, and you have to give it to Royal Enfield to making the adventure motorcycle very, very India friendly with a very low height of 800 mm. I think that's fantastic. Everybody can get their feet down, and that inspires a lot of confidence. Of course, with this setup here, it looks like you are sitting very low and the handlebars are quite high. I think handlebars are still not high enough to be very friendly off-road, but they're just about okay. It's because of this adventure format where the lower subframe gets lower and this gets higher, but this still isn't high enough. It gives you that very different, very weird riding position, which ends up looking very, very different from every other motorcycle in the country right now, and that's been the case with every single adventure motorcycle that has come out in the world. So this is because this is an affordable motorcycle, you have to talk about that aspect. And let's talk more about the riding part. This 411cc motor makes 25. So let's talk about the riding part, and before that, as always, let me show you what the exhaust note is like. Starting up the engine, firing it up. So that's how it settles down on idle. how the engine sounds like. It feels like a much faster revving Royal Enfield engine of the past, but it revs more faster and much more smoothly, and it is top end friendly as well. But at the same time, it's got a very typical Royal Enfield note to it. It's not entirely a thump, but it's a very nice and immediately recognizable Royal Enfield soundtrack. What else can we tell you about the riding experience? Well, the engine has become much more smoother, linear, and much more consistent. There's a bit of only one hiccup that we found is between 2300 rpm and 3000 rpm, but this one jerk that you can experience from time to time. But if you rev consistently and short shift and reach 60-70 kilometers an hour and shift to fifth gear, if you ride like that, then you won't realize. Basically, if you short shift and reach the higher gear as soon as possible, you might not even realize. But if you are struggling between 2000 and 3000 rpm in second gear or third gear for a really long time, and that will happen to most riders in India because we can get stuck in traffic, there's only one hiccup that comes in. I think this could be down to this particular motorcycle or because there is some water in the tank, but I think that can be applied to a lot of motorcycles, because like I showed you, there is some water inside the fuel cap which can slowly come down in the engine. And apart from that, the engine is fantastic. Lot of low end and mid range power, so that means you can have a lot of fun off road. That's what we did as well. Of course, there's a bit of a disconnect with a very large 21-inch wheel, which we've never seen before on a motorcycle in a 400cc space, and the suspension needs to provide more feedback, but it does its job, but it doesn't let you tell you that it's doing its job. It doesn't communicate really well. I think the suspension can be tweaked in a way where it can provide you with more feedback with the 21-inch wheel. I think that will happen with the next generation of the Himalayan. This has been a problem, let's say not a problem, it's something that you get used to after riding it for a really long time, that you realize something like that is happening. But since it's very confidence inspiring, the tires are also really good, the front brakes feels reassuring, so you'll be fine with it most of the time. Of course, what it also, talking about the front, what it does really well is that the rake is quite low for a motorcycle of this size, and so that means that you can get a very quick turn in the moment you go down into corners, tip into corners. It surprisingly feels much more quicker than it should, and I think that's a good thing at the same time. And surprisingly, on the highway, it feels quite good. It feels very stable. The front also feels very stable, almost stable. I think more stability would have been welcome. Apart from that, like I told you, the tires are great at the front and at the back. The brakes are also pretty good, given the fact that it's an off-road motorcycle, so there's no immediate bike at the front or at the back. Of course, there is dual channel ABS, and now it's switchable as well. The fuel economy, while if you ride it quite hard and fast on the road, you will realize that the fuel economy drops quite quickly. That's what we noticed in our road riding from riding within Mumbai and going to Pune and back, is that fuel economy can be a bit low, but I think it's in the 28 km/h region. Of course, we filled up and we know it's around 28-29. It can be a bit higher with the right hands, and that's about it. The handling is very confident and feels very nice. It feels sharp to a certain extent, and I think that's what makes the Royal Enfield quite a good motorcycle. Apart from the front end, where suspension travel is fine, the 21-inch wheel is fine, the tires are great. It's just the suspension setup, the way the oils are inside, need to be recalibrated to be made sure that it provides more confidence. That's about it. The chassis composure is spot on in corners. It feels confident. In fact, I found myself taking the twisties even harder. The same thing happened with the BS3, BS4, and now the BS6. I just find myself pushing the bike much more than it should be able to do, and I think that's a very good thing. That's the reason why my confidence level is quite high when I take this motorcycle off-road, and that's a really good move by Royal Enfield to make sure that it feels confidence inspiring. What else can we tell you about? Well, the new BS6 pricing starts from 1.84 lakhs and goes till 1.92 lakhs. That's only for colors. There's hardly any difference. I think the top end variant, of course, will get you the triple navigation, and that's about it. The Himalayan does impress. We think we can stay with this motorcycle if for a really long period without feeling, let's say, bored with it, because it can do off-road and on-road. It can take our bad roads really well, and so that makes the Himalayan a very good motorcycle in our conditions, with the pricing being almost right, and Royal Enfield has taken out a lot of errors and issues from the Himalayan in the BS6 version. It feels very nice, and it feels now much more value for money, given the fact that a lot of problems have been solved. So I think that's it. That's what the Himalayan is all about. It's become an all-rounder. It's become good value. It is turning out to be quite reliable than expected. Royal Enfield has made a lot of changes ever since it came out, and that's it for now with the Himalayan. Thank you so much for watching our video. Make sure you like it, share it. If you still have some questions, put them in the comment section below, and follow us on our website, on social media handles, and we'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.